Senate Democrats for a third straight day rejected a spending bill that would have funded the Homeland Security Department and overturned the president's executive amnesty fiat. The stalemate leading to this exchange between Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and the former leader, Harry Reid.
There is bipartisan support to move forward on a freestanding bill that sends the Homeland Security directly to the president. We want to do that. That's what should be done.
As my good friend, the Democratic leader, reminded me, for 8 years, the majority leader always gets the last word.
Well, not always, not anymore. Joining us now, Senator James Lankford, a member of the Appropriations Committee, Homeland Security and Government Affairs, and the Select Committee on Intelligence. Senator, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Lou.
On the defunding, if you will, the blocking of the president's amnesty fiat, is this going to be simply a continuous impasse, or is there a path toward actually resolving the issue?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. The Democrats actually aren't debating it and voting it down. They're voting to try to block us from even debating it. Senate has a basic process where there's no rules in it. You have to agree to the rules for each debate, and the Democrats refuse to even debate the issue. They don't want to talk about trying to protect the president and the illegal, we believe, action that he took on executive amnesty to just declare millions of people that they have legal status without going through Congress on it. That's all we want to do, is bring it up. Let's debate it. Let's talk about it. Let's set that aside and say let's fund all of it. In fact, the funding bill that we have is all of Homeland Security. It's everything in Homeland Security, but it also includes this qualifier to say the president can't just unilaterally declare any group as legal status.
You know, the Republicans, it seemed to me, could also help their cause a bit here, and arguably the nation's cause, if they said, you know, we're simply not going to permit the imperial presidency to extend beyond this administration, whether Republican or Democrat. Congress and the Senate will be respected as envisioned by our founders and defined by the Constitution. Why not go to that point, make that guarantee, a contract with the American people, and by God, end this nonsense now?
Yeah, be glad to, actually. In fact, I met with some folks from the White House yesterday and said, let's start talking about how do we do some major reforms. These reforms will take probably 2 years to do. They will start past your presidency, but we can at least get them in place and say this is not going to happen again. They're so much of a guardian for their own power and for their own will to be able to not go through Congress, when I firmly believe history will look back on this presidency and be ashamed for what they tried to push on the American people.
What will be history's judgment, but more before we get to that, what is your judgment of the president's extraordinary remarks today at the National Prayer Breakfast, in which he attempted to draw a moral equivalency between some Christians and their violent acts almost 1,000 years ago and the radical Islamist terrorists of the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. I happened to be there this morning at the National Prayer Breakfast. It's a great event, but it was fairly stark to be able to basically use the Islamic radical line of these are just crusaders and trying to say as Muslims, we're just standing up against crusaders as we have for over 1,000 years. It was a little remarkable to kind of head a little bit that direction and say Christians are also guilty of things like this 1,000 years ago. The real issue is what's happening right now. And while we can look back on history and find lots of issues in history, you don't find Christians around the world beheading. You don't find Buddhists around the world beheading. You don't find Hindus around the world beheading and setting people on fire. You find that right now among Islamic radicals. That has become the issue, not only the problem in the Islamic world, as you have Sunnis fighting Shias and all this radical attacks there, but most definitely in Western culture.
Is the Republican Party in charge of both the Senate and the Congress prepared now to confront the president with and use the power of the purse to simply not fund his departments that are most egregious in offending our Constitution and law?
We are, actually, Lou. That is one of the things. Obviously, we've had control of the Congress for all of 1 month at this point. The Senate's spent a lot of time trying to get organized, work through the Keystone process, organizing committees. One of the prime things we want to do is actually get back to appropriations bills. It's been years and years. We're going to actually do a budget. What a crazy thing that is, that the Democrats did not do a budget while they were in the Senate. So we're going to actually get back to doing budget process, doing appropriations bills again. That's the spot where you can go through different agencies and hold people to account and say that's completely inappropriate. We've not had that opportunity for the last several years. We're going to take that opportunity to actually govern now.
Senator, this is where I say, really? It's only been a month? It seems like so much longer from New York. How does it feel in Washington?
Well, I can tell you it feels every bit of a month at this point, trying to get all the different committees lined up and getting ready to go. But it'll feel like 23 months, and then we'll have a transition to presidency. And quite frankly, I'm looking forward to that.
Senator, thanks so much. I'm looking forward to our next discussion. Senator James Lankford.